It's week 15, time for the playoffs. Let's get it started. Quarterbacks I love, hate, and a sleeper for week 15. I love Matthew Stafford. He's had 23 or more fantasy points in the last 3 weeks. He goes up against the Commanders, who have been the worst team against the quarterback the last 5 weeks when you adjust for the schedule. Fire up your Matthew Stafford. Next up, Russell Wilson versus Detroit. Another great matchup against the quarterback position. The Lions allow the second most points to the quarterback. I think Russell Wilson should do a little bit of cooking this week. I hate playing Tua this week. This team did not look good against the Tennessee Titans after Tyreek Hill went down, and Tyreek Hill is currently questionable, and they actually go up against a good defense in the New York Jets. I'm not trying to risk this in the playoffs. Hard pass. And for my sleeper, you're going to have to monitor the health, but if Geno Smith plays, I think he plays well against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles allow the 5th most points to the quarterback position. If Geno Smith plays, I think that he's a solid sleeper. Wide receivers I love, hate, in week 15. I love both Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, both going up against the Washington Commanders, who allow the 5th most points to the wide receiver position in the last 5 weeks. This Rams offense seems to have a new spark, probably because Cooper Kupp is playing well again. I love Courtland Sutton. I know we say that these touchdowns can't continue, but he's only had 3 games all year without a touchdown. That's 10 games with a touchdown, 3 games without him, and he goes up against the Detroit Lions, who allow the 3rd most points to the wide receiver position in the last 5 weeks. Fire up your Courtland Sutton. The guy just keeps getting it done. If Chris Olave plays this week, fire him up. The Giants have been the worst team in the league against the wide receiver position the last 5 weeks. If he plays, I think you play him. I hate the matchup for Jalen Waddle. We don't know the status of Tyreek Hill, and the Miami Dolphins goes up against the New York Jets. The Jets are incredible against the wide receiver position. Literally the toughest matchup in the league for the wide receivers. Jalen Waddle's gonna have a tough time if Sauce Gardner is draped all over him. I'm not saying you gotta sit him, but just lower your expectations. Next up, Adam Thielen. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Atlanta is a tough defense for the wide receiver position, and Adam Thielen has been wide receiver 60 over the last 3 weeks. You probably got some better options out there. Wide receiver sleepers, week 15 edition. I know you're starting DK Metcalf, but I like all the Seahawks wide receivers in this one. That includes Tyler Lockett, and if you're desperate, even Jackson Smith and Jigba. The Eagles are the 2nd worst defense against the wide receivers. I'm more confident if it's Geno Smith throwing them the ball, but even if it's Drew Lock, they should be pretty solid. Next up, Jayden Reed. I'm not confident that Christian Watson or Aaron Jones will play this week, but regardless, I like the matchup. Unfortunately, my Buccaneers are not great against the wide receiver position, so I think Jayden Reed should have a fine outing. I'm also liking these targets he's getting. 10 last game, the most so far this season. And last but not least, Odell Beckham Jr. going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars are not good against the wide receiver position, and I think Odell Beckham is getting more and more involved. 10 targets last week, season high for him. I think he has a good game against Jacksonville. Fire him up. Running backs I love, hate, and a couple sleepers. Week 15. I love Rachaad White. This guy doesn't get talked about enough. Every week, week in and week out, he's doing great, and he has a fantastic matchup this week against the Packers. The Packers are the 6th worst defense against the running back position in the last 5 weeks. I think White takes advantage of that. I also love Ezekiel Elliott. Zeke had 27 points last week and finished as the running back 1. Now he gets to go up against the Kansas City Chiefs. In the last 5 weeks, the Chiefs have not been able to defend the running back position. I think Zeke's gonna have a great game. I hate Kenneth Walker III. Yes, it was his first game back and he only got 9 points, but that was against the San Francisco 49ers. Well, now he plays up against the Philadelphia Eagles, who are one of the toughest teams in the league against the running back position. I'm not saying you have to sit him, because you may not have another option, but limit your expectations. I got him down as a flex play with upside. Next up, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I like that he had 15 opportunities last week, but I'm not excited for him to go up against the New England Patriots, who are the toughest team in the league against the running back position. Could he fall into the end zone? Yeah, but anybody could. I'm not actively trying to start Clyde Edwards-Helaire if I don't have to. Tight ends I love, and a sleeper. You gotta stay in the flames with Evan Ingram. He's crushing it. When I was telling you to start him last week, I didn't think he'd get 33 points, but I am pleased. And I think you gotta start him again in this one. Yes, I know the matchup is not great on paper. But if you look at the last 5 weeks, the Ravens have actually allowed the 3rd most points to the tight end position. I think Evan Ingram's gonna eat in this one. I've been hearing some questions about Trey McBride, so I figured I'd include him in this one. Yes, I hate the matchup 49ers are not a good matchup for any skill position. But Marquise Brown is banged up, and I don't really like any of the other receivers. Trey McBride is Kyler Murray's #1 target right now. I'm staying in the Flames. I know it's a little scary, but I'm personally starting him in my league, so there's that. And as a sleeper, I'm staying in the Flames with Isaiah Likely going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars allow the 4th most points to the tight end position in the last 5 weeks. I think Likely should be pretty solid. Defenses I love, hate, and a sleeper. Hopefully you played the Raiders because they scored 25 points. I had them in my waiver wire episode, so if you got them, good for you. For everybody else, I love the New Orleans Saints. I loved them last week and I love them this week. Going up against the New York Giants. Fire them up. Yes, Tommy DeVito is a revelation. I'm also not worried about him lighting up the Saints. Fire him up. Next up, we got the Atlanta Falcons, basically following the trend of who's playing the Carolina Panthers. Well, the Falcons got it this week. Fire them up. I also love the Kansas City Chiefs. The New England Patriots can't score points. They're just bad right now. I think the Chiefs should take advantage of that, and they need to win this game badly. I hate the Dallas Cowboys. Defense, that is. Going up against Buffalo. I don't want to play defenses against great teams. Hard pass. Same thing with the Buffalo Bills. Rostered in 73% of leagues. I would not be playing them. They've had 2 good games all year. Why are you still holding on to them? This is a sleeper. I'm not super confident in the Rams, but they go up against Washington, and Washington allows a lot of sacks. So I think there's a chance they sack their way to a decent game. If you play fantasy football, don't forget to set your lineups. They're Saturday games. Vikings at Bengals are at 1 o'clock. Steelers at Colts are at 4:30. Broncos at Lions are at 8:15. Do not get caught slipping. These games are on Saturday, not Sunday. Make sure you're ready. If you play fantasy football or gamble on the NFL, listen up. There's some bad weather coming. It may affect your roster or who you think's gonna win. Falcons versus Panthers, 94% chance of precipitation. It's most likely gonna rain. The wind is what I look at. 15 miles an hour is when it starts getting a little iffy. They got it at 16 to 17 miles an hour. These quarterbacks aren't too great anyways, but we're borderline having it be an issue. Keep an eye on it. There'll be some rain in the Bears versus Browns game, but the wind looks like it's not gonna be an issue. It's at 13 miles an hour at the moment. Jets versus Dolphins. This is where the issues start. Yeah, I'm really not worried about the 20% chance of rain. I'm looking at the 20+ mile an hour winds that are going to be happening throughout this game. It's going to make it more difficult for quarterbacks to throw the balls to the receivers. Keep that in mind when you're setting lineups. Cowboys versus Bills. It's looking like it's going to rain, but the wind isn't above 15 miles an hour, so I'm not too concerned about it. Definitely worth monitoring. Another terrible wind game. Ravens versus Jaguars. It's looking like it's going to rain, but again, I'm concerned about the wind. Roughly 20 mile an hour winds. That should affect some throws. Keep an eye on it. And then Eagles versus Seahawks. Looking like a pretty good chance of rain, but the wind isn't picking up, so I'm not too worried about it. So that's going to do it for my Week 15 love, hates, and a weather forecast. Got a couple more videos coming for you. Stay tuned. Good luck in your matchups. Peace.